Welcome back to Steele and Vance. Now we're showing these visuals of early days of COVID when we were all just incredibly terrified. Linda, do you get the same feeling now that we're learning from the World Health Organization that the COVID emergency has ended? They've ended the emergency around this pandemic. Do you have moments where you're thinking, looking at visuals like this and thinking, did that happen?
Well, I was lucky because I did not know anyone directly who died from COVID. I knew people who, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of thing. But the reality is, even though the World Health Organization came out a couple of days ago and said, the COVID health emergency is over, it doesn't mean COVID is gone.
No.
In fact, in BC, just in the week of April 23rd to 29th, 42 people died. So people are still dying from COVID, just not in the record numbers that they were.
So watching the World Health Organization's announcement around this, they were talking about the numbers where in 2020, there were 100,000 people dying of COVID every day. And on that day, when they declared the emergency over, there was 3,000. So it's a very different place. But that's still 3,000 people. That's still a lot of people, and vulnerable people still. So when people want to just... Can we put up the graphic, Derek, of the virus graphic? And Linda, I hope we never see this again. It was...
COVID was with us, is still with us, but really the emergency for 3 years. I'm so glad I didn't know way back in the spring of 2020 that I was going to be locked down at home doing a radio show from home and not being able to go anywhere and see friends for that length of time. I would have lost it.
Yeah, I will say this as a parent, because school being closed and that being really scary and not knowing if it was coming for your kids and not, because it's one thing when it's happening to grown-ups and people who have means to sort of make it through. I thought about vulnerable people. I thought about the kids, and I'm really thankful, especially now with hindsight, that of all of the jurisdictions in North America, British Columbia was the only one that kept schools open after that first blush in 2020. We were able to do a hybrid model. It was stressful. Don't get me wrong. I totally get it. There's some teachers yelling at their screens right now and some that are feeling it. But with a kid who was going into high school as a 12-year-old, I was so like, oh my God, what are we doing?
And even though
it was managed really well here.
I think so too, generally speaking. And you're right. Everybody will jump and pile on. Dr. Henry did this wrong and that wrong.
Thank you, Dr. Henry.
But can we also argue that it is not fully over? And we still need to be careful because now there's a new variant, and it is called Arcturus.
I'm so glad you're pronouncing it, and I'm not. There it is. Arcturus.
Okay, and this is in BC. It started in India, I believe. It's now in 30 countries. We have it here, and one of the things about this particular variant is that it is linked to pink eye. So you might think, oh, I'm having allergies, or it could be COVID.
And you might test and be negative. You have to test multiple times over numerous days now to identify Omicron. The really good news here, Linda, is the fact that we have very much vaccinated our way to where we are in Canada here. There are parts of this world that don't have access to vaccines. Most people have had at least a couple of doses of this. I'm not counting anymore. I'm just going to go get boosters when my doctor tells me to go get a booster. I'm one of the lucky people that hasn't had side effects from even getting the shot. Like I had shingles vaccine shot, and I had a reaction to that prior to the pandemic, and then I've never had any problems with these.
I never had a problem either, aside from the sore arm. And
you
again,
taught me
we
the
always
flap.
do the chicken flap. Pharmacists say that you get sore in your arm because it's swollen.
Yeah.
And so if you're moving this around and getting that blood flowing and what have you, honestly, it cuts down the pain and the soreness by about 80%.
She's right.
It did to me.
What about masking?
Masking, I used to carry around a bazillion masks in my purse. I had a mask everywhere.
They matched your outfit.
And now I was digging in the other day and I couldn't find a mask in my purse. So I thought, okay, that's a whole new era of things. But I'll still wear it on a plane.
Yes.
I'll still wear it in certain circumstances. And I do thank the Asian community for teaching us way before we really understood that masks can protect you from getting sick, even if we're talking the common cold.
Exactly. 100% here on that statement, because we used to look around and think, why are you wearing a mask?
Yeah,
and now it's like, oh,
it's a little overkill, and they're like, oh, people are dying. That's why. Can we talk about Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta? So she keeps stepping in a cow pie, every month or so. And this new video has surfaced where she wasn't the Premier yet, but she was a media person. She was doing a podcast, and this is when she was very upset about the restrictions on the unvaccinated and how outrageous it was. And basically, this video just resurfaced and everybody's talking about it because she sort of invoked the Hitler era.
I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the Netflix series, How to Become a Tyrant, but it starts with Hitler in the first episode, and it's absolutely appalling and shocking.
Yeah.
How and it's one academic says, I know so many people would say, and they must have filmed this before COVID. So many people say that they would not have succumbed to the charms of a tyrant, somebody telling them that they have all the answers. And he said, I guarantee you would. And that's the test here, is we've seen it. We have 75% of the public who say, not only hit me, but hit me harder, and keep me away from those dirty unvaxxed.
I say hit me harder too. I
She's
never
vaccinated.
said keep me away from the dirty.
Never. She's
unvaccinated.
vaccinated. What, and that's the interesting part of, and she's blanket apology for this, right? Like everything I ever said before I was elected, oops, sorry. I was watching Ryan Jesperson's.
It's not like she said it 25 years ago. She said it like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, no, during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Ryan Jesperson's podcast on this is hilarious. He and Charles Adler had a great conversation on this subject. And then they showed a clip of the press briefing where the premier was asked about this. And basically they said, so are you a sympathizer then because you're vaccinated? You said, like, it's just like, come on, people. Find the middle ground. Find the moderation. Look at science for being science. And let's get together, because we've all been through a lot these last 3.
And you know what? I think she's going to get elected again.
Oh, God.
Well, not again, but for the first time.
You're setting me up for this. What the hell is wrong with people? Fits like a glove. Okay, wait. We have a few doozies lined up for tonight's segment, so stay tuned. Of course, that's our last segment of the night.
Yeah, coming up next, though, Canada's fertility rate has hit a record low. Couples are waiting later in life to conceive, or they can't even afford to have a family. One of Canada's top fertility doctors is going to join us next.